I haven't spoken to my oldest sister, 26, for 3 years. We were very close growing up, and I used to look up to her. However, once we got to college, everything changed. She went to a prestigious university, and I didn't make it to the same level. I didn't get into any prestigious schools, and it was heartbreaking. I went to community college to sort things out after my sister, who embarrassed me by insisting I come to her party, revealed her lies, and life took care of the rest. My sister was attending a prestigious university, so she started acting differently. It didn't happen overnight, but it was pretty obvious that I made her feel uneasy. At first, I tried not to let it get to me because she was in a new setting with all these successful, high-achieving people, and I thought maybe she just needed some time to get used to it. However, things only got worse because every time I brought up school, she would give me this dismissive smile, as if she was trying to be polite but didn't care. She made passive-aggressive remarks about how I shouldn't settle. She started acting like I wasn't worth her time at family gatherings, and when she did, it was as if she was doing me a favor. I recall one occasion when she introduced me to one of her friends as if we were just acquaintances, and she seemed genuinely uncomfortable to admit that we were sisters. There was only so much I could ignore at this point, and I was hurting a lot on the inside. I tried to talk to her about how she was making me feel, but she would always shut me down. The last straw occurred at a party she invited me to, which I now realized was probably out of pity. 3 years ago, she had just graduated, and she wanted to celebrate with her college friends. I suppose she thought it would be nice to include me. Everyone there was from her Ivy League group, and I felt out of place from the beginning. She kept bringing it up, and never held back from expressing that she was disappointed in me because I wasn't as accomplished as she was. I tried to fit in, but I think everyone could tell that I didn't belong there. After drinking a few drinks and getting a little tipsy, I thought I could play one of their games, but instead, I accidentally spilled a drink on one of her friends. Her friend kept yelling at me about how I had ruined a $7,000 outfit, and I was horrified and extremely embarrassed. I literally couldn't stop apologizing to her friend over and over again, but that wasn't enough for my sister, who completely lost her temper in front of everyone, calling me a failure and expressing regret. Although her exact words hurt me a lot, I will never forget how small she made me feel in front of everyone. It seemed like she finally had the opportunity to express how embarrassed she was of me, even though I admit that I was at fault and that I shouldn't have consumed so much alcohol. But even though it's not an excuse, I only drank so much because I was so nervous. Despite this, I still don't believe that I deserved everything my sister said. After that incident, though, she cut me off completely, deleted my number, blocked me on social media, and refused to talk to me. I tried to contact her numerous times over the years, but she never responded. She even told my mom that she didn't want to hear from me and that she truly wanted me out of her life. My mom has always tried to get us to talk again, and every time there was a family gathering, she would ask me to try to make peace with my sister. For 3 years, my mom pleaded with me to go with my sister's birthday parties, but I did out of respect for her wishes. She never wanted to see me. If it were up to me, I would have spoken to my sister a long time ago. I didn't want her to resent me any more than she already did, so I stayed away. This year, though, my mom pleaded with me more than usual, saying that maybe this time would be different because my sister had calmed down. I'll admit that I missed my family because I hadn't seen them all together in years since my sister would avoid any event to which I was invited. I figured that maybe things could finally be different, so I agreed to go, offering and hoping for the best. I wanted to show my sister that I wasn't the person she believed me to be, so I bought her a really expensive designer bag, $2,000 to be exact. I'd afford it now because I've built a successful career as a writer after years of hard work, and I've self-published a book that's been doing pretty well. I thought the gift might be a way to show her that I'd made it, and maybe she wouldn't look down on me anymore. She didn't say much at first, but the atmosphere was really strange. Almost 2 minutes after I entered, my sister asked in a loud voice so that everyone could hear who had invited her. It hurt, but I tried to ignore it, reminding myself that I was there to make amends. Unfortunately for me, she didn't stop there. "Community college trash like you could never fit in here," she said loudly, and it was so humiliating that I felt all the confidence I had built up over the years essentially crumble. My sister left me and went back to her group of friends, so I decided it was time to leave. I was not welcome at that point, and I didn't like being publicly embarrassed. So I waited for another minute so everyone could resume their conversation before I headed for the exit. However, just before I got there, one of my sister's friends approached me and said she recognized me. At first, I thought she was confusing me with someone else, but then she began talking about my book. She had read it and even had a copy with her. She asked me to sign it, and I was shocked. My book had become quite popular, but I never imagined that anyone at my sister's party would be aware of it. After I signed her book, the atmosphere abruptly changed. My sister's behavior changed from ignoring me to acting as though we were best friends. She began introducing me to her guests as the author of that book, which was so insincere that I was at a loss for what to do. My sister had started acting as though nothing had happened, and that she hadn't been completely cut off from me for the past 3 years. Ever since her birthday party, she has been bombarding my phone with calls and texts, basically asking if we can get back together and be sisters again. She keeps saying how proud she is of me and how we should reconnect, but I haven't replied to her. I played along because her friend was impressed by my success to avoid causing more drama, but on the inside, I felt so betrayed that I stayed at the party a little longer until it became too awkward, and I left. I spoke with a friend about this matter, and she told me that I was being rude for not giving my sister another chance. To be honest, I do miss our relationship, but it's difficult to forget how she treated me when she believed I was unimportant. She only wants me in her life now because I'm successful, and I don't like that because I'm family. So why should success determine how she treats me? I'm still not sure if I'm overreacting or if I'm wrong to feel this way. I wanted to give you an update on what's happened since my original post. Wow, it's been a lot. First off, it wasn't an easy decision, but it wasn't a choice I made lightly. After the whole party incident where she called me a failure in front of her friends, I tried for years to get back in touch with her, but I'm cautious. Am I the one at fault for refusing to do so, even though she's trying? Thank you so much for your responses and advice. I've read your comments, and you've given me a lot to think about. I tried texting, calling, and even asking my mom to help us work things out. My sister made it obvious that she wasn't interested, blocking me everywhere, excluding me, and refusing to be around me. She even made our family pick sides by refusing to go to any family events with me. Eventually, I decided to just not go to these events so that at least my family could get together and have fun. Of course, that doesn't mean I never saw them. Barbecue for the following 3 years. However, at some point, I simply stopped attempting to contact my sister because I felt embarrassed. I reasoned that I didn't want to keep chasing someone who didn't want me around. So no contact occurred. Many of you may wonder why I chose to attend her birthday party after 3 years of no contact. To be honest, I was hesitant. My mom had pleaded with me to go for the past few years, and she kept saying that my sister might come around if I just showed up. Lastly, a lot of you have inquired about that party where I spilled a drink on her friend. Many of you believe that I left out details, but that was the truth. I was extremely anxious about spending time with my sister and her friends because she had spent the previous 4 years praising them all. I didn't want it because I respected the boundaries my sister set, but this time, my mom made it seem like my sister had changed a lot. So I gave in because I kind of hoped that she was right and wanted to think that things could finally be different. I know I shouldn't have drunk so much, but you also need to remember that I was just 21 at the time, and I thought it wouldn't hurt to let loose just a little bit. I never wanted to ruin the party or embarrass my sister in any way. I've always felt really bad about that day, and trust me, I did everything I could to show my sister how apologetic I was. They were actively telling me that I was not good enough compared to them. In addition, all of her friends came from pretty influential families, and my sister and I came from a middle-class family. She acted like I didn't matter for years, and now she wanted to be close just because one of her friends recognized me from my book. I didn't quite like that. I finally texted her to thank her for being nicer at the party, but I also told her that I didn't feel comfortable jumping back into a sisterly relationship just because she was acting so emotional. My sister called our mom to complain that I was ignoring her and being difficult, and then our mom called me to say that my sister was heartbroken and that she wanted to make things right. I tried to explain that this wasn't about ignoring my sister, but rather about protecting myself from more hurt. I told my mom that I was glad my sister seemed interested in repairing our relationship because she had stopped thinking I wasn't worth it. I said I needed time to think about everything and that I didn't want to rebuild a relationship based on my success. That text didn't go over well. Relationship, but I couldn't ignore how badly she had treated me in the past. My mom gave me the typical platitudes about how family is family and that this was the ideal chance to mend our bond. I think a part of me lost it at that point. I asked her where this energy was when my sister was putting me down at community college and ignoring me for years. I told her that perhaps things wouldn't have gotten this bad if she had spent half as much effort pleading with me to let go of her small grievances. She became quiet after that, hung up the phone rather quickly. A few days later, my sister unexpectedly showed up at my apartment. I hadn't even told her where I lived, so I assumed my mom gave her the address. She brought along some old pictures of us as children and began talking about how much she missed me. It was strange. She kept bringing up topics like how she'd been thinking about us a lot lately and how we were always meant to be close. But the more we talked, the stranger it got. She also kept bringing up my income and casually mentioned how successful I was now. I was uncomfortable and didn't want to deal with her any longer. So I excused myself by saying I had some work to finish and was able to get her out of my apartment. The conversation seemed to be more about what I could do for her with my newfound money than it was about actually getting back in touch and mending our relationship. Then she began giving me hints about how we could start a family business together because I'm so talented and she has great ideas. I haven't spoken to her directly since, but my mom has been calling constantly to try to convince me to give my sister another chance. At this point, I'm not sure what to do. Of course, I miss the sister I had growing up, but the person she's become is more interested in what I can offer her than in me. Now that I'm doing well, I'm not sure I want to go down that path, especially after everything she's already put me through. Thank you again for all of your support. I'll keep you updated if anything else occurs. It's been around 2 weeks since. A week after my sister's surprise visit, I began receiving direct messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years, mostly mutual acquaintances and some of her friends. They were all very excited about the new business my sister and I were supposedly starting together, and some even congratulated me, saying they couldn't wait to see what we built and that they wanted to be the first to invest. I was taken aback, not knowing what anyone was talking about. I assumed there must have been a miscommunication, so I asked a few people what they were talking about. Based on my book, I discovered that my sister had been telling people that we were launching a creative and trendy business together, such as a lifestyle brand or product line. She told them that I would handle the creative side of things because I was so talented. Not her words, and she would handle marketing and sales because she gets along well with people. I even received a message from someone asking if I was taking pre-orders for this upcoming launch. I was taken aback because not only had I never consented to this, but I had also made no indication that I was even remotely interested in launching a business with her and in that industry. Now that everyone assumed we were in the planning stages, I was frustrated because, who just makes these kinds of announcements without even speaking to her? I chose to text my sister because I didn't think I could handle speaking with her in person after the last time, even though I wanted to be direct and honest. Because I wanted to put an end to this as soon as possible, I asked her what she was doing and told her that it was inappropriate to tell people we were starting a business when I had never agreed to anything. However, rather than offering an apology or even acknowledging what I had said, she dismissed me, telling me that I was overreacting. I tried to be patient and courteous, but my sister didn't respect my boundaries. The only reason she wanted to reestablish our relationship was because she saw an opportunity to make money for herself. To be honest, I would have truly helped her if she had truly admitted how she had wronged me for years and made an effort to make things right. However, she kept ignoring the situation and trying to make me feel like I was the only one at fault. I couldn't stand hearing her blame and pressure me, so I blocked her. It wasn't easy, and I felt bad about it, but I knew I had to protect my peace because I didn't want to fall back into her chaos, especially now that I'm in a good place in life. Update 3. I thought I was done with this whole mess, but of course things had to escalate again. About 2 weeks after I blocked my sister, I got a call from my mom, who sounded upset and told me that my sister had shown up at her house. My sister was crying and saying that I was ruining her life. That's all for now. If anything more bizarre happens, I'll let you guys know. Hopefully, that isn't the case. But we never know. I'll admit that for a moment I felt bad, but then I remembered how manipulative she'd been throughout this whole thing, and I wasn't about to let her guilt trip me again. She told me that she was embarrassed because people were starting to ask questions about said business, and she had no answer to give because obviously there is no business. My mom was practically pleading with me to unblock her and at least talk to her. She said that my sister was going through a tough time and just needed my support. I didn't even know about this business until a few weeks ago, and I wasn't responsible for the misinformation my sister spread on the phone. Then, I learned from a mutual friend that my sister's situation was much worse than I had initially believed. She didn't just hype up the fictitious business. As I mentioned in my previous update, a few people even offered to lend me money as an investment in the business, but in reality, they did the same to my sister, taking money from them without telling me. Friends supported the large project we were beginning, but instead of using that money to set anything up because there was nothing to set up, she used it to finance her lavish lifestyle. Based on what I've learned, she spent it on designer clothes, fancy dinners, and weekend getaways, all the while pretending to be a successful businesswoman preparing to launch her dream venture. When people began to inquire about the business, she became anxious and blamed me for abandoning the project because she had nothing to show for the money she had raised. This friend also informed me that my sister had been having financial difficulties for some time after graduating from college. She didn't get the great job she expected and has been hopping between gigs ever since, but she's still posting on social media as though she's living this lavish life that's full of fancy trips, expensive dinners, designer clothes, the whole thing. She was telling everyone that I was the reason the business fell apart, which made her look bad and got people angry at her. Maintain appearances, which I suppose is why she was so desperate to get me involved. She didn't contact me because she missed me or wanted to make amends. Instead, she wanted me to help her out. When I didn't comply, she became anxious, and when my mother called me again, which she did, she continued to talk about how my sister was in a bad place and how I should be the bigger person. She claimed that this was only a phase for my sister and that she needed family to get through this. I spent years feeling like a failure over the party incident where I spilled a drink on her friend, but I was tired of hearing the same excuses over and over again. Her bad place had started when she went to college, and for some reason, she never got out of it. She not only got herself into trouble, but she made it her mission to bring others down with her. She didn't care that she was going to hurt those close to her. She just wanted to make sure that she looked good. After reading hundreds of comments, I realized that it wasn't as big of a problem as my sister thought. I didn't let my mom talk too much this time, instead telling her straight up that I wasn't going to let myself be used no matter how much guilt she or my sister tried to throw at me. I reminded her of what a nightmare and a bully my sister was, and I told her how she had destroyed my self-esteem for years, just so she could feel better about herself. Made it out to be. She just made me feel so bad about myself that I didn't know what was wrong and what was right. My mom kept trying to push me, but I think I reached my breaking point at that point. I told her that if she didn't stop trying to guilt trip me into fixing this for my sister, I'd block her too. That seemed to get through to her, at least for the time being. I asked my mom if she still expected me to be the one to fix my sister's mess, and she said that if she was so worried about my sister, that she should be the one to help her out, not me. She was unhappy about it, but I believe she finally understood that I wouldn't back down. I haven't heard from my sister since I blocked her, and to be honest, I'm relieved. I regret that things went this way, but I also know that I made the right choice. Unfortunately, she's having difficulties, but I can't fix that, especially when she was trying to bring me down with her. I know that many people have said that I should give her another chance and that family is family, but I've allowed this situation for far too long. Has truly demonstrated to me that you don't owe someone your time, energy, or money just because they are family, especially if they have only ever treated you poorly. Thank you once more for all of the support and guidance from the most recent update. It has helped me stay grounded and feel confident in the choices I've made. I hope this is the end of it, but knowing my family, who knows what will happen next? For now, I'm just concentrating on moving forward without every bit of drama.